It's a real relief for me that these two have pleaded guilty and that part of it is over now, but it's just the tip of the iceberg, and there are so many really graphic and violent tweets that were sent to me that, as far as I'm aware, aren't being investigated, and that's really concerning. And not just that were sent to me, but also that were sent to other women, and they haven't seen any justice whatsoever. They've been to police and have been rebuffed and told to close down their Twitter account, to not tweet things that might incite this kind of violence. And it's really concerning. Having said that, I'm really glad that we seem to be seeing some kind of justice. There is some attempt to start taking this kind of thing seriously.
Did it surprise you, of the two today, one of them was a woman?
I think probably sad is a better reflection of how I felt. I don't think there's any secret that some women can be sexist and misogynistic. I mean, after all, we're all brought up in the same kind of society that has misogyny and sexism running through it, and I think it would be naive not to expect some women to pick up on that and start internalising it. So I think it's really sad, because basically what it demonstrates is that there are certain women who've internalised it so much that they are spreading it themselves.
What do you make of the fact that it was a journalist who discovered the identity of one of these and not the police?
I found it incredibly frustrating. It did feel at the time that I was having to do all the investigative work myself, taking all the screen caps. Journalists were getting there before the police. I mean, the next person who was found was so much longer after Newsnight had tracked down someone, and you sort of think, journalists don't have the same recourse to information that the police do. How is it that a journalist can find someone so much quicker? It felt like the police just weren't trying.
What is the lesson, then, that ought to be learned from this experience?
Well, quite a few lessons. I mean, I think social media companies need to be much more aware of the extent to which their platforms can be used, not just for positive. They really like to sell the positives of it, and there are a lot of positives. I mean, I don't forget that it was Twitter that enabled me...
what you were using it for was positive.
Exactly. It enabled me to change something about society. It enables a lot of women to engage in the political discourse, and I think that's why it's so important that we don't allow this to continue, because a lot of people are being silenced by it, are not campaigning, aren't daring to speak their mind, and that's, you know, I see it as a freedom of speech issue. Are you suggesting
that social media companies censor what people say?
No, but they can take it a lot more seriously. They can actually, you know, shut down accounts when they're reported. They are still not doing that effectively. They can make it easier to report. Also, they can give people the option to be hidden. Their blocking system on Twitter is completely inadequate, and I think they just recently demonstrated how little they understood how Twitter can be used to stalk and intimidate women in their recent changes to the blocking system, which were thankfully reversed, but they essentially made it easier for women to be stalked online, or victims to be stalked online.
Have you heard of other cases of women being stalked online?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure if I'd go as far as calling it an epidemic, but it's certainly something that is quite usual. It happens to a lot of women, and I think the worst thing really is that although I feel that my case wasn't handled well and I feel very angry and frustrated about it, I'm incredibly lucky in comparison to a lot of women who don't see any justice whatsoever. They don't get any media attention, and as a result they don't get the police looking into their case.
Look, I don't want to sound callous, and obviously what you had was a horrible experience, but when you see that one of the perpetrators of these threats that you received is some weird individual who doesn't go out at all, described by his own counsellors as sad individual who only ever leaves the house to empty the bins, you weren't actually in any real danger from such a person.
But you can't know that online. All you see are these threatening, menacing messages which are telling you in incredible detail exactly what is going to happen to what part of your body, which is going to be penetrated, which is going to be mutilated, how you're going to be pistol whipped, how you're going to be raped, in which ways you're going to be killed. And there are so many of them coming in, and you just don't know who these people are. And, you know, one of the tweets that I was sent said, you know, it could be someone that you know, and I didn't know if it was someone that I knew or not. How could I possibly know?
So what's to be done?
I think that we need to, as a society, look at why this is happening. I think it's, for a start, incredibly important that police take it more seriously and social media companies assume some responsibility, but I think also we need to not just treat symptoms, we need to look at causes, and we need to look at why this is happening.
The police are pretty busy already, aren't they?
They are, but it's about priorities, isn't it? It's about deciding Does this matter? I think, of course I think it matters, because I see it as a freedom of speech issue, a freedom of speech for women who are routinely being shut down and silenced. I mean, you only need to look at what happened to Mary Beard. She wasn't even campaigning for feminism,
Sure.
and she was just talking about politics. And as a result of that, she got a similar wave of vile misogynistic abuse, and that is simply people trying to shut women down and out of the public sphere, and I don't think it's something that we should be allowing to happen.